Those are the wins that make a difference. Welcome to From Center Ice. My name is Courtney, and I am here to talk about game number 3 between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Tampa Bay Lightning. A big difference heading into this game is that Tampa Bay had Victor Hedman back in the lineup. He played some of game number 1. He was out game number 2, but he was back for game number 3. And it doesn't matter what percentage of Victor Hedman you are getting back into the lineup. Any percentage of Victor Hedman is a boost to your team. And there was a lot that happened here in game number 3, so I'm going to try to talk about it in a chronological order. Now, what we saw from the Leafs in game number 1 was one of their biggest issues, and that is that they could not start the game on time. They certainly remedied that for game number 2, but those 2 games were in Toronto. This game, game number 3, was the first one in Tampa Bay this series. So coming into this one, you think it would be crucial for the Leafs to start the game on time and just be ready to weather the storm that the Lightning would be bringing in the first period. The first game of the playoffs in their home building, a building that has seen a lot of recent success. But 3 minutes and 24 seconds into the first period, Matthew Knies gets the puck from Ryan O'Reilly in the neutral zone. He breaks into the offensive zone down the left wing. He sends that puck to Noel Acciari in the high slot, who takes just a second to look at the options in front of him, and he risks that thing past Andrei Vasilevskiy stick side, and the Leafs are up 1-0 in the first 5 minutes of this game. What a great play by that third line to get this game rolling and get it rolling in favor of the Leafs. And Matthew Knies with his first NHL playoff point. He came into the lineup in game number 2 with Michael Bunting being suspended for 3 games. But I've got to say, in this game, he was one of the most consistent players on the ice and one of the best Leafs out there because of that consistency. Anyhow, that was a great start to the game for Toronto. But 4 minutes and 50 seconds into the first period, Victor Hedman, back in the lineup, has the puck in the neutral zone. He attempts to pass it, but he fans on the pass. Not to worry, he's able to pick it up again himself, and he passes it over to Brayden Hagel, who enters the offensive zone at the right point. He dishes that puck off to Alex Killorn, who is driving down the middle of the ice, which sets up almost a 2-on-1 with Alex Killorn and Anthony Rielly against Luke Schenn. Well, instead of committing to the shot or to the pass, Luke Schenn just kind of does nothing and stays in the middle of the ice. That allows Alex Killorn to whip that puck over to Anthony Rielly, and while Ilya Samsonov is sliding to his right, trying to take down that short side shot, Rielly just sends it back the other way and puts it in the net, glove side on Samsonov. The game is tied 1-1. It certainly isn't great to allow a goal less than 2 minutes after you had scored the opening goal of the game, but at least that one only tied the game and didn't put Tampa ahead. So it could be worse. We have to look at the silver linings here. But then 11 minutes and 10 seconds into that first period, Mitch Marner has the puck down in the left corner. He passes it out to the middle of the ice to Luke Schenn, who takes the shot, but it is blocked. Thankfully, Schenn is able to get the puck back and control it. He sends it over to the left point to Calle Jarnkrok. He holds on to it for just a second, but then he passes the puck to Mitch Marner, who had come up to the middle of the ice at the blue line. Mitchie one-times that puck, but his shot does not go in. And that is because Auston Matthews in front of the net reaches out that stick, tips the puck past Andrei Vasilevskiy into the net. The Leafs have the 2-1 lead, and I told you in the last video the goals would come for Auston Matthews. The Game 2 broadcast said that Auston had been very quiet in this series so far, even though he had 4 assists through those first 2 games. You would think that getting that lead would give the Leafs some momentum, but it was the opposite of that, because they were getting hemmed into their own zone for a good amount of time after that goal was scored. And after being hemmed into their zone for about a minute and a half, TJ Brodie takes a cross-checking penalty, sending the Leafs to the penalty kill. But while killing that penalty, Justin Holl got the puck and drove it toward Andrei Vasilevskiy's net. That's right, the Leafs are killing a penalty. Justin Holl, a defenseman, has the puck and he is going the other way with it toward the opposite net. Not something you typically see, but it was a good thing it happened because he drew a penalty on Nikita Kucherov. I guess Kucherov was just as surprised as the rest of us, and he had to hook Hall in order to not allow him to get a scoring chance. Wouldn't that have been something? But nobody scores there. But 19 minutes and 28 seconds into the first period, after the Leafs had just killed off another penalty, Brandon Hagel has the puck in the offensive zone, and he is just puck handling around everybody like he's Patrick Kane. I guess he learned a thing or two when they were teammates. Corey Perry ends up with the puck behind the net. He sends it back out front to Brandon Hagel, who has seemingly a wide side of the net to shoot in. He takes that shot, but TJ Brodie out of nowhere comes flying in with his foot to block that shot. What a huge shot block that was, and the puck just bounces in front to Ilya Samsonov, who is able to cover it up with his blocker hand. Except no, he isn't, because Brandon Hagel is celebrating, and then they're reviewing things, and then they show the replay, and instead of covering up the puck with his blocker hand, Ilya Samsonov pushed the puck underneath himself and into the net. Oh, Leafs, why? That right there looked like only something that could happen to the Toronto Maple Leafs. A wide open net, but a massive shot block from their defender, who keeps that puck out of the net. It bounces to the front of their goaltender. He has every opportunity to cover it up, but instead of covering it, it hits the bottom of his blocker, pushing it underneath him. It looked like he was laying on the ice, so it shouldn't have even had room to go underneath him, and yet it does, and it trickles all the way into the net for a good goal. Leafs, you are so exhausting. The officials review it. They call a good goal 2-2. And since there were only 32 seconds left in the period, that is how period 1 ended, with these two teams tied 2-2. And unsurprisingly, in their first home game of the playoffs, Tampa Bay had the 13-8 shot advantage in the first. On to the second period. And apparently that storm I said that the Leafs would have to weather came in the second period instead of in the first period, because just over 2 minutes into that second period, Samsonov had already had to make a breakaway save on Tanner Jeannot and then had to go post to post to stop Victor Hedman. After whatever the hell that goal was for Brandon Hagel to end the first period, Samsonov was standing on his head to begin the second, and he had to because the Leafs were under siege. You had Sammy out here making saves, you had defenders out here blocking shots. It was a horrible start to the period for the Leafs if you expected them to get anything going offensively. But just over 9 minutes in, Ryan O'Reilly had a nifty little pass to himself in the offensive zone, and he had a really good chance to shove that puck in past Andrei Vasilevskiy, but Vasi shut it down, made the save, and got the whistle. Thankfully, about halfway through the second, the game started to settle down a little bit, and these teams were going back and forth instead of the Lightning just going full force ahead at the Leafs. But 13 minutes and 34 seconds into the second period, Darren Radish had the puck in the offensive zone for the Lightning on the right wall. He was just able to keep the puck and do whatever he wanted with it. He skated it all the way around the net, popped out the other side, and then just wristed it stick side on Samsonov for a goal. 3-2 Lightning. And what was that? That was a failure on all levels. That puck should have never made it into the back of the net. Darren Raddysh shouldn't have been able to skate from the right wall all the way around the back of the net, pop out front, and then just send a shot toward the net. Didn't even seem like that dangerous of one, and it just goes in! I guess maybe after Samsonov had stood on his head to start the period, things were bound to balance out so that easy goal just went in. But the Leafs were simply just being outplayed. And that was the only goal scored in the second period. So these two teams went into the second intermission with Tampa Bay holding the 3-2 lead. And not only a 3-2 lead, but a 28-15 shot advantage. On to the third period. And just over 5 minutes into the third period, Morgan Rielly and Brayden Point were both going for a puck. They were in the corner, and it was just an unfortunate situation all around. Morgan Rielly shoves him a bit, trying to create separation, and I don't know if Point just lost his balance or if he was at a bad angle, but he went crashing into the boards hard. He got up to try to skate away, but then fell down in pain in front of the net, and that was bad enough. But then it caused absolute chaos because you had Nikita Kucherov come in and grab Morgan Rielly and throw him to the ice. Then you had Auston Matthews and Steven Stamkos fighting? Or I will say quote-unquote fighting, because Stamkos definitely wanted to fight Matthews. It didn't seem like Matthews wanted any part of that. So the officials call a major penalty for boarding on the initial collision, so they could review it. After they review, they say there was no penalty on the play, but Morgan Rielly does have to serve 2 minutes. And then you also have Auston Matthews in the box, and one other Leaf, I don't recall who it was right now, but then you had Steven Stamkos and Nikita Kucherov in the other box. It was just chaotic. But somehow, out of all of that, the Leafs got a power play. And then they proceeded to do absolutely nothing with it. Which was pretty much how the entire third period went for the Leafs. They were way too busy just standing around, not battling for pucks, not looking like they had any sort of urgency or intensity to their game. They looked like they were skating through mud and didn't even care to be there. It was so bad that when there was 6 minutes and 10 seconds left in the third period, the Leafs only had 1 shot on goal in the period thus far. But, my friends, this is the Stanley Cup playoffs. And if you are not new to the playoffs, then you kind of know how this goes. But if you are new to the Stanley Cup playoffs, things just kind of happen. When you least expect them, a team just comes out of nowhere and does a thing. And this thing happened with exactly 1 minute to go in the third period. The Toronto Maple Leafs had the goaltender pulled because they were down 3-2, so they want the extra attacker to try to score. William Nylander from low on the left wall has the puck, shoots it toward the net. It bounces off of Andrei Vasilevskiy, but in front of the net is Ryan O'Reilly. He is able to find that puck after it bounces off of the massive goaltender. It does not land on his stick, it kind of lands in his feet, but he kicks it to his stick, and he is able to get just enough on it. That puck heads toward the net, toward Andrei Vasilevskiy, toward one of the best goaltenders in the game of hockey, and it just somehow trickles through him. The puck is in the net. The Leafs have tied the game with a minute to go in a game where they looked horrible. I'm telling you, my friends, things just happen in the playoffs. There is no rhyme or reason for why these things happen. They just do. At that point, I had just accepted my fate. that this game was going to end with the Lightning winning in regulation, them taking the 2-1 series lead. If you are following us on Twitter, you will see that I had this very jersey that I'm wearing right now. I had it about halfway on. I had pulled it over my head, and I was holding it right here as I looked at the TV, and I see a puck behind Andrei Vasilevskiy, and then I realize it is not a replay, it is the Leafs scoring a goal to tie the game while I was getting ready to film this very video at the end of regulation. This is what happens in the playoffs, and this is the kind of nonsense that the Toronto Maple Leafs deliver. But they still had to make it through another minute and either score to win in regulation or try to keep the puck out of their net so Tampa does not score in regulation. And just to make things as stress-inducing as possible, this game went to overtime. The teams were tied 3-3. Tampa Bay had a 31-22 shot advantage. On to overtime. And if we thought that Ilya Samsonov came up huge for the Maple Leafs at the beginning of the second period, let's just say, and this may be a bit dramatic, but it's quite possible that Ilya Samsonov saved their playoff lives with some of the saves that he made in overtime. Now, maybe some of them didn't look like the craziest saves ever. He wasn't flying left to right, standing on his head, twirling around, doing acrobatics. But it's overtime. It is sudden death overtime. One of those pucks goes in, the game is over, the Leafs lose, they are down 2-1 in the series. Not only did Samsonov make some huge saves, but he made some timely saves because once again, in this overtime period, the Leafs were outplayed by the Lightning, and it certainly looked like a case of one team who is used to this scenario. They've been there before, and that is the Lightning. And then you have the other team who is inexperienced in this type of situation, being the Maple Leafs. And funny enough, the players who looked the best for the Leafs on the ice in overtime were the newcomers. Ryan O'Reilly definitely being one of them, and he's got experience. He won the Conn Smythe when St. Louis won the Cup in 2019. But then we start getting toward the end of the overtime period. The Leafs kind of start feeling it a little bit, and they start getting some scoring chances. I don't know why they waited until the end of overtime, much like they waited until the end of the third period to, try to do something. And then 19 minutes and 15 seconds into the first overtime period, the Toronto Maple Leafs have an offensive zone face-off. Ryan O'Reilly out there, the guy who has the experience, who has been probably the best player for the Maple Leafs all game long. He's taking the face-off. He wins the face-off. He wins it back to Morgan Rielly. Morgan Rielly, bless his soul, has been through so many heartaches with this Toronto team and with this great chance in overtime. The puck on his stick, overtime winding down. He rifles that thing at the net. And it goes in! Ryan O'Reilly wins the faceoff to Morgan Rielly in overtime. Takes the shot. It goes past Andrei Vasilevskiy. The Toronto Maple Leafs win 4-3 in overtime to take the 2-1 series lead in the first round against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And those kind of wins right there, my friends, are the ones that make a difference. Those wins in the playoffs, in games where you had no business winning those games, those are the moments that give you crucial experience, the ones that will propel you to success in the long run. Those are the ones that give you that mindset that you can win any game. And that is the mindset you need in the playoffs. And the Leafs got this one in a game they had no business winning, a game where they were completely outplayed by the Lightning. Samsonov may have looked shaky at times, but when it came to crunch time, he was there. And now the Leafs can try to put a stranglehold on this series in game number 4 on Monday. So, my friends, how did you feel about this game? Because I was feeling very poorly about it. I had a blip of excitement when Ryan O'Reilly tied the game up at the end of the third period. And then when Morgan Rielly scored in overtime, I don't know that I really felt happiness or if it was just relief. It was probably a bit of both and probably more happiness as time goes on and I can kind of come down from being upset at how they were playing in the third period. But they won. In the playoffs, that is all that matters, is that they won. So that is going to do it for me in this video. Thank you all so very much for watching and tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, go ahead and do that. Give this video a like. That would make me so very happy. And if you would like to hear more from me or from Center Ice, head on over to FromCenterIce.com. There's links to all the places you can find us over there. Or if you look down in the description of this video, you can find links to all of our social media profiles. You can follow along on there. But all of that being said, that is the end of this one. The Leafs won. Get some rest, drink some water, get ready for game number 4. This is the fun time of year. And I will catch y'all in the next video. Bye, guys.